In this lecture, we're going to explore another set of operators called comparison operators. As the name implies, comparison operators are capable of comparing values. In the resource section of this lecture, I provide a link to a complete list of comparison operators. One thing to keep in mind is the results of the comparison operators. Arithmetic operators produced integers and floats, whereas comparison operators produce Boolean values. Under the results column, take notice of the data type. It's all Booleans. So, let's try using some of these operators. Inside our script, we're going to use the operators from within the variable dump function. We don't need the data variable anymore. PHP introduces two operators for comparing values. The first operator is written with two equals characters. This operator compares two values and returns a Boolean. For example, let's try comparing 1 with 1. It's important to note that we're using two equals characters. A common mistake among beginners is to use a single equals character, which, as we know, is the assignment operator. We don't want to assign a value, but compare two values. In the preview, the operator has produced a true Boolean value. Now there's something worth noting about the equal operator, which is what this operator is called. Behind the scenes, PHP may perform type juggling. As a reminder, type juggling is a feature where PHP performs typecasting automatically. If we attempt to compare two values with different data types, PHP performs typecasting before comparing them. For example, let's dump another value by adding a comma. The variable dump function is not limited to rendering a single value. Multiple values can be rendered by separating them with commas. For the second value, let's compare 1 with a string that contains 1. Technically, these are different values because of their data types. However, looking over the output, the value has been set to true. This result confirms the PHP's type juggling behavior. Otherwise, these values would not be comparable. While it may seem convenient, unexpected results may be produced. In most cases, developers prefer to compare values with the same data types. This produces the most reliable results. PHP allows us to compare values and data types by using three equals characters. Let's add an extra equals character to both values dumped into the output. This operator is more strict than the previous operator. The data types must match. Otherwise, a false value is evaluated. In the preview, the results are different. This time, the second Boolean value is false. Despite having similar values, the data types don't match, meaning that PHP considers them to be different values. I always recommend strictly comparing values. Trust me, you'll save yourself a headache. Type juggling in these scenarios is better left off avoided. Up next, we have operators for comparing values that don't match. In our examples, I'm going to replace the first equals character with an exclamation point character. These operators are referred to as the not equal and not identical operators, respectively. Unlike before, these operators attempt to check that the values don't match. If they don't match, the operator produces a true Boolean value. Otherwise, we'll get false. The main difference between them is that the not equal operator may perform type juggling, whereas the not identical operator does not perform type juggling. In the preview, the first comparison produces false because 1 and 1 completely match. However, the second comparison produces true since the values are different data types. One thing I want to mention is that there's an alternative syntax for the not equal operator. You can use the exclamation point equals characters or the less than greater than characters. There isn't a clear difference between these variations. However, the exclamation point equals characters are the most common combination. Let's keep going. Inside the variable dump function, we can compare values that are less than or greater than each other. Add the following values: 2 less than 3, 2 greater than 3, 2 less than equals 3, 2 greater than equals 3. The first two examples are self-explanatory. The less than character is used for checking if one value is less than another, whereas the greater than character is used for checking if one value is greater than another. But what about the other two operators? They're similar to the first two examples. However, they will also check if two values are equal to one another. In the third example, we're checking if 2 is less than or equal to 3. As long as the number on the left is less than or equal to 3, PHP produces a true Boolean value. The same idea applies to the fourth example, but with a greater than comparison. You can play around with these operators and check out the results to understand how they work. For now, that about does it for the comparison operators. Let's keep going in the next lecture.